Hello friends, welcome to Shauna Stitches. I'm Shauna and this is State of the Stash 11 for September 2023. And if you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. I have been doing this State of the Stash series for a while now, 11 months to be exact. And if you do not know about it, it's where I document the yarn that comes in and out of my stash. Ultimately, the goal is to be stashing down, but this is all about accountability. So I talk about the purchases that I've made, so yarn coming into my stash, and then projects that I finished, yarn going out of my stash, or if I get rid of it in some other way. That being said, if I still have the photos, I might pop those in here. Last month, I got rid of a lot of yarn from my stash because I cleaned my craft room, and I didn't document any of that because quite frankly, it was pounds and pounds of yarn, a lot of very old acrylic de-stash stuff, and I didn't want to take the time to weigh it, but you can see if I have the photo here, or if not, just picture it. There was at least two large kitchen-size garbage bags full of yarn that I donated to Goodwill. And that doesn't include the stuff that I threw out. So the stuff that I donated was still in good shape. It was either caked up nicely or still in the skein. And I had some that was just really tangled up and not worth anybody's time. So I guess I'm probably doing better than it will look like, but I'm going to be accountable here and I'm going to talk about what came into my stash. So if you're ready for that, grab something to drink and let's get into it. So the first yarn that I had come into my stash in September was this beautiful skein here. This is by Mystery Mouse Yarn Company. It is so pretty. And does it say the name on there? I can't read it backwards here. Yes, it does. Old Fashioned Girl. Or I guess it's An Old Fashioned Girl. And this was a mystery skein that I got. It's the very first yarn I ever purchased from Mystery Mouse. And the reason that I was so tempted to purchase it, enough to buy it, was that I am in a reading group where we are reading An Old Fashioned Girl. It's a book that was published in, I think, 1886, 1868, something like that, a long time ago. And it's by Louisa May Alcott. I think I have that right. She is the writer of Little Women, which is a very popular, I don't know if it's a book or if it's a series. I've never read it. And I don't tend to go towards historical books, or I guess it's not historical, but like time period, you know, it's not current. It's just not something that I've read. But a lot of people in the Telegram group that I'm in were saying about how they really enjoyed the author, and some of them said this was their favorite book. So I think I'm like 13 chapters in now. My original goal was to be knitting this while I read the book or listened to it, but that isn't happening. I will try to remember to pop in a photo of the cover because you'll see that this really does match. See, I'll hold it there because the picture will be here. It really does match the cover well. And I am excited to knit this up at some point. I don't know when that will be or what it will be, but that was 100 grams into stash. Okay, the next stash that came in was, you guessed it, for the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along. I'm going to try and hold these up here. So, not the best way to see them because you can only see them from the top. Anyway, those of you who don't know, it's called Geo Gradient this year, and the whole goal is to get a gradient of yarn, 4 different colors. So I bought Holst yarn directly from Holst in Denmark, and it came surprisingly fast with reasonable shipping. Very nice. So I have 2 of this color, which is the color Candy Floss. And 2 of this color, which is Allium. These are 50 grams each, by the way. It's an interesting yarn because it's 50 grams and 314 yards. So by all accounts, that should be like a lace weight, but when you wash it, it really does plump up. And for a shawl, you have a little wiggle room. This is Peony, 2 of those. And the last and darkest color is this one, which is called Comfrey? I don't know. So these are not cast on yet, but I think I forgot to mention today is October the 2nd and the Mystery Knit Along starts October the 5th. I'm very excited. So this is going to be cast on really soon. Of course, having such large yardage, I will definitely not use all of it, but I should use a good chunk. So that was 400 grams into stash. Then I actually finished something, a very, very exciting something. This here is my massive, I don't know what you can see there. This is my massive handspun, all handspun, the gray and the colorful yarn, all spun by me on my drop spindle and plied on my drop spindle. This is the Attune Shawl by Andrea Mowry. And this used 439 grams. Pretty darn good. And I'm going to wear it because it's cold. I forgot to mention, I'm filming from my home on the Oregon coast. I always forget to say that. And we are what feels like very deep into fall at this point. I took a little clip of what my backyard looks like at the moment, and it's raining. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it has drastically changed from our sunny days, and I kind of love it. Okay, the next thing that came into my stash, I've already started knitting up. Here's the little bit that I have. This is the start of a muscle burrow hat. And for this, I'm holding 2 yarns together. A Drops Mohair, I think it's called Kid Silk Mohair, and then a Drops Flora, both in black. And I have plenty of yarn in my stash, not necessarily mohair, but yarn to knit muscle burrows, but this is for work and I have to have a certain color. I'm not allowed to have fun colors at work. So this was important. Last year I knit a sockhead cowl holding mohair and a fingering weight yarn together, and it is by far my favorite piece of knitting, but definitely my favorite piece of work knitting. And so I'm looking to replace the current hand knit hat that I have that just isn't keeping me warm enough. And with the weather change, that is definitely necessary. So that was 225 grams into stash. Then I finished something else. Where is it? Found it. I'm going to pop in some photos too, because showing you the finished object just doesn't quite do it justice. But this cute little thing is the Ursa Canis? It's supposed to be like canine, but I don't know, like the Latin version Canis, I guess. It is by Jacqueline Cieslak, I think. And it is for my dog Ollie. He has just probably 1/4 inch long hair, just the shortest little hair, and I think he's gonna get cold this winter. So I knit this up in a day, and it was a very long knitting day, but you can see I added the little hole there for the harness to poke through. He hasn't worn it out on a walk yet or really around the house because I can only picture that he's going to try and scratch himself and snag a piece of yarn. So I wanted to show it while it still looks nice. This is knit out of acrylic, so it's very washable. And now that I have shown it, actually, I might wait till I do a regular podcast. Either way, he'll be wearing it soon. And this only used 35 grams of DK weight yarn. Isn't that crazy? I think it's like the 4th size too, which you wouldn't think a 12-pound or no, 10-pound Chihuahua would wear the 4th size, but I was quite surprised. Okay, then I won a prize, and that added yarn to my stash that I wasn't necessarily expecting. So I can't be mad about yarn. This is from Texas Peach Knits. I was part of her knit along and I was a winner. So this is by Yarn Cafe Creations. I love her dyeing and her yarn. And this is in the colorway Blueberry Muffin. So I don't know if this will be socks or a hat, or who knows, it could be part of a future mystery shawl, but it will be something beautiful. I love this color, so pretty. Along with that, I received 2 gorgeous skeins of this burgundy red singles. Lots of halo here. This is by Knit Picks, and it is their diadem fingering. I don't know if they still make this because that isn't one that I'm familiar with. I don't know if I've ever heard of that, but it's 50% alpaca and 50% mulberry silk, 329 yards. So I guess it would be a sport weight. Between the 2 of them, I mean, it's super drapey, if you can see that, like compared to this, which doesn't drape, and this, which just flops right over, which I'm sure has a lot to do with the silk. I'm thinking maybe a cowl, because it's singles. You don't want something that will get a ton of wear or like friction, but it's just so soft. And I think some kind of cowl. I don't know what one yet, but it's beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie. I love it. So all 3 of those added 300 grams of yarn into my stash. And here is a very large acquisition. I mentioned last month it was my birthday month and I was splurging a bit, and I also received some gift yarn, and I think that rolled right over into September. I'm going to be honest, when you sort of loosen the reins, they stay loose for a while. You guys aren't going to believe this. I can't even hold up with one hand. You see that? 3 500-gram cones from Holskarn. Aren't they pretty? I guess I should have them in the fade order, right? The lightest color is pea green. I keep wanting to call it sweet pea, which is something completely different. Pea green, larch, and tundra. So beautiful. I am not a green person, but I might be changing my mind about that. I bought these for a specific reason, not just to have stash. I wanted to knit my husband a penguono, and he is a redhead if you don't know. So green will look great on him. And here's what I have started so far. Doesn't that look so good? This paused, stalled, whatever you want to call it, for a couple reasons. One, I'm worried it's not going to be big enough. Do you see that fade I did? I figured all the math and faded. I love it. But I am worried because this is a non-superwash wool, and I don't know. So my husband is 6'2". Of course, you can't see. I don't know. This goes all the way, let's see, like where a shirt would go there. It goes down past my waist, but I held it up to his back. I will pop the photo in. I'm just worried it's going to be small, but I don't know. I've looked at a lot of project pages. I'm on gauge for the size large, which a size large should be a 54 inch chest, and he has a 44, so it should be big enough. I just need to trust it, but I'm having trust issues. My phone's ringing. I think it's junk, but I better check. Of course, it was a wrong number. Better than spam though. I'd much rather have wrong numbers. Okay, so I was just talking about the penguono. I'm nervous about it, but I am going to keep going. If it doesn't fit him, it will fit me. But if it doesn't fit him, then I will have to buy more yarn to make him one, because of that 1,500 grams, it should take roughly 1,000. So definitely not enough left over to make another one. So as I just said, 1,500 grams into stash. Holy moly, I better finish that penguono fast. All right, then my very last yarn that went out of my stash in September, I finished my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. This took 71 grams out of my stash, and it is in the color HBD Charles Schultz, which I believe is short for Happy Birthday, Charles Schultz. He is the creator of the Peanuts comic strip. And we aren't done yet. We still have more acquisitions. This yarn here, Desert Vista Dyeworks, as I just mentioned. This is in the color Zom Eeyore. I'm a big Winnie the Pooh fan, and Eeyore is my favorite. So this skein came into my stash because I have been participating in the yearly, monthly, I don't know how you say it, monthly Desert Vista Dyeworks knit along. And if you finish a project using at least half a skein of yarn every month for so many months, then you earn prizes. So this was the 6-month prize, a free skein of yarn, any color that you wanted, and this was my choice. So this was 100 grams into stash. Very excited to knit that up. Okay, the last acquisition is another big one, but I have a good reason for it. I always have a good reason, right? I'm great at justifying things. All right, here we go. 4 skeins of Desert Vista Dyeworks. And if you'll notice, this label looks different than this label. And the reason for that is all of these, I couldn't tell you how old this label is, but I found these in a D-stash for a price that I could not resist. And I'm going to be doing the Desert Vista Dyeworks knit along again next year to earn those prizes again. So I think next year will be my last year. I may change my mind, but I really do want to focus on more stash yarns. That being said, the fact that I knew I was going to participate next year and I could get these skeins for, honestly, I paid less than half of what I would have paid normally, so it's well worth it. I got 4 colors. This one is called Rainy Day. This is the only one I got that doesn't have nylon in it. It's just 100% superwash wool. And I've used this base to knit a Musselburgh hat for myself, and it was a pink color, cherry blossom, if I remember right. So this one will probably be a Musselburgh for my husband. I got If They Kill Rick, which is a Walking Dead themed yarn. And If They Kill Carol, again, Walking Dead themed. And last but not least, Dark Chocolate Covered Cherries. So pretty. So those last 3 do have nylon. They will be socks for sure. So that added 400 grams into stash. It doesn't take a math genius to know that what came into my stash September last month is more than what went out. So to total everything up, 3,025 grams came into my stash. 545 grams went out of stash for a difference of 2,480 grams. So technically I'm up almost 25 skeins. Yeah, 25 skeins over what went out. For the entire year, 2023, I am up 3,879 grams. So yes, 39 skeins more than what I started the year with. That being said, I need to rein it in. I need to tighten those reins, and I need to knit like the wind and use up some of my stash. I was a little bummed, and there were times like the cones, I'm like, maybe I just won't include those. Maybe I won't be completely transparent. But that doesn't feel honest, and I want to be honest with you all. And also, I feel like having these numbers are a great benchmark to compare next year. So although I may not come out negative this year, I still have big plans and big goals and baby steps. Every day is a chance to do good and do better and buy less yarn. So I hope that you will join me if you are looking to stash down. Maybe keep track of what you buy and what goes out of your stash and compare those 2 numbers, because I think you might be surprised. I know I'm very surprised by how little actually goes out of my stash when I am knitting like a maniac. Like this Attune shawl, I had a cowl, a knit along due date, and It took me so long to spin the yarn that by the time I got to the knitting, I was really on crunch time, and so I spent a lot of hours knitting this shawl, and, you know, it was less than 500 grams. So it's just kind of amazing, I think, how much easier and quicker it is to accumulate the yarn than it is to knit it up. And we all knit at various speeds and have projects that take varying amounts of yarn. So I think it is very personal and unique to what we are as a knitter, what kind of objects we're knitting. And it's good to get that sort of base number of the, say, the average that you knit in a year or in a month, and be able to put that into how much we're buying, if we're buying anything. So anyway, there's my thoughts on that for September of 2023, and I will be joining you again soon. Are you joining the MCAL? If so, follow along with me. I plan on doing a video for each of the clues. So I'm excited about that, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.